Alrighty, welcome back everyone. I am Blaze here. Today's video is a good one. It is 5 times that Bards broke EverQuest. Broke it so badly that it required huge patches. I'm a lifelong fan of this class, and I was interested to know how the class has changed since the start of EverQuest, because I haven't played the whole time. And I was surprised to find so many instances where Bards got nerfed because they utterly broke the game. So I asked on the EverQuest forums, and this is what I found. So one of the most well-known instances of Bards getting nerfed, one of the most broken things that first happened towards the beginning of EverQuest, was AoE dot kiting, or also called swarm kiting, which you can crazily enough still do to this day on Project 1999. And what it was, Bards have a couple songs that let them do damage, that let them do a dot on every target within range. Do an AoE dot. So what Bards would do is they would go to some specific zones like Firiona Vi, Dreadlands, Burning Woods, and they would just pull almost everything except for a few types of mobs, but they would pull just huge swarms of mobs, 50 to 150 mobs. Pull it to a corner of the zone, bunch it up, and then just run around in circles, throw these AoE dots down, and it would kill everything. It would be a crazy way to earn EXP. You could get a lot of EXP quick doing this. And what happened is it got patched big time. On Project 1999, they lowered it so that the AoE dots only hit 25 targets at a time. It's still viable, but not as effective as it used to be. And on live servers, on TLP servers, AoE dots only work on stationary targets now. You can't have them running for the damage to work. Why did it get patched? So this is a quote I got from the forums. Pretty much all of the unlimited target damage abilities that went in were nerfed eventually. So this is not just Bards, but pretty much every class that had unlimited target abilities like this. Mainly because they led to players abusing them so much that they impacted server stability. The amount of processing involved in calculating the pathing for a swarm of mobs could bring a zone to its knees and even impact server performance. You could crash a server doing this. If you have enough people doing this, you could crash a server in zones across the whole server. This is just insane. This is insane. So you could have Bards or anybody who could do this in 5-6 different zones on a server. If they were doing this simultaneously, the server would have gone down. It was that bad. The next major song that got nerfed is called Denon's Desperate Dirge. And what this one is, it's a level 43 song, I believe, that gives Bards an AoE nuke. Basically, it costs 800 mana and it does a huge nuke on all the targets within range. So right now to this day, it only hits 5 targets at a time. It's still incredibly useful. I still use it in this footage here, and I can take out maybe like 20 mobs, 25 mobs before I go out of mana. I can do anywhere from like 2.5 to 8k damage, depending if I critic or not. It's really great for burns. But I found out, I had no idea of this. So it first started out, it had a hard-coded limit of 4 mobs. It could only hit 4 mobs at a time. And then a patch in 2018 broke it. Durge was missed. And what happened is Durge went from 4 mob cap to unlimited. This was even better than the previous AoE dot kiting, because that took time. That actually took some finesse. This one, you pull everything that you wanted in the zone. Again, 50 to 150 mobs. Bunch it up. Just had to be close enough to cast Denon's Dirge on it, and it would hit everything. It would just hit absolutely everything, and Bards would just annihilate swaths of mobs in maybe like 2 minutes at most, 1 to 2 minutes. And I've also heard of them, Bards would go to the power leveling spots like in the Deep or in Chardock, and they would just swing by, wait for a power level group to do their massive pull, and then just burn it to death with their Durge and steal all the EXP for the pull. Bards were just hell with this ability. But yeah, now it's only 5 targets max. It was at one point unlimited. So why did this get patched? It's the same with AoE dots. It impacted server stability. It disrupted the zone for other people. You can't, it just brings the zone to its knees when you get 150 mobs getting nuked simultaneously and being kited. It just annihilates a zone's ability to work. The next major nerf is for something called Song of the Highsun. This is a Kunark era song that lets bards do a double dispel on target and also send it back to its spawn point. I use it mainly to split up mobs that can't be lulled or mezzed. Like if you go to Kale, if you went to Umbral Plains here, there are mobs that you can't mezz them, you can't lull them to split them apart, so the only thing you can do is either blind them with like a bioluminescent orb or to use highsun on them. It used to be with this song, it worked on every single type of mob, but now it only works on non-raid targets. So what bards would do is they would actually use it on raids to pull. They would use it to split up raid targets as a way to making pulls easy, and then they would just click fade to drop aggro. They also used it, some raid mechanics have ads that automatically come at you after a certain amount of time or amount of damage you've done to the main boss. You could actually use highsun to get those mobs out of there and just make them a non-issue in the fight. But now you can't use it on raid targets, but it's still useful for regular grouping zones if mez and lull isn't an option to split. So why did this get patched? It was a way to change raid fights in unintended ways by getting rid of ads, and some ads would get stuck in walls and not come back. Some scripted raid events got incredibly bugged out and broken because of this. It ruined some raid events. The next major nerf was to an ability called Fading Memories. I was actually around for this one, but I didn't realize the significance of it. So Fading Memories is a Planes of Power AA that lets bards drop all aggro and go invisibility instantly. It's sort of like the feigned death for bards. That was the main crutch that bards had as pullers, is, well, they had all the tools that monks didn't have to split. Like they had lulls and mezzes and charms, made them really good pullers. They didn't have a way to drop aggro like monks had. That was their main weakness when it came to pulling ability. And with Fading Memories, it really invalidated that. Bards arguably became the best pullers in EverQuest after they got that ability. And the benefit too is it was instant. You didn't have to wait a minute for aggro to drop like for monks. So Fading Memories, it used to cost a flat amount of mana. So like the first rank was 900. I don't know what the other ranks were. I'm assuming like say 450 and so on and so forth. It would go lower and lower. And also, I guess you could keep your charm pet too. So you could charm a mob out of a pack, hit fade, it would drop aggro on the pack, but you would still keep your pet, run away to where there was nobody around, and just beat the charm pet solo. And it also worked on any level mob. Now it actually has level restrictions. So post nerf, it no longer costs a flat amount of mana, it costs a percentage of mana. So the first rank costs 12% of your mana pool, second is 6%, and the final rank costs 2% of your mana pool. Not a flat number. The first rank is just brutal. You can only do so many. Your mana regeneration can't really compensate for using this a lot, but once it gets to lower percentages, it's not that bad. And now it generally only works on mobs that are 5 levels above you. And it also drops charms now, so you can't use it as a way to split like that. Why did Fading Memories get nerfed? So this is an actual quote from the developers. The second escape AA ability was given to bards and Planes of Power with instantaneous reuse and was balanced by charging a significant amount of mana, historically a very limited resource for the bard class. This resulted in improving a bard's ability to pull important NPCs out of a group in ways that was just traditionally handled by classes with Feign Death. Just like escaping death for many classes, the team considers the ability to split mobs more quickly as a very powerful tool for pulling classes. Mainly, why they nerfed it is because it used to use more resources in Era, and as more information about the game got out, Bards started stacking more mana regen to the point where mana wasn't a limited resource, and Bards could use this a lot more than was intended to be used. And the last major nerf that happened to the Bard class that we're talking about in this video is called Vainglorious Shout. I've never actually used this ability, but I remember seeing some patch note about this ability on later expansion servers. What it is, it's an AA ability that lets you cast out a frontal beam, sort of nuke, I guess, a nuke dot, I guess you could say. When it lands, it does a resist debuff on mobs, it does a stun, and then when it breaks, when the effect breaks 20 seconds later, it does a huge hit of damage. And it costs endurance to use, so Bards actually can use mana to do nuking with, and they can also use endurance to do nuking with. So pre-nerf, it used to be on limited targets. So Bards would pull everything in the zone that they wanted, hit this ability on the swarm, and it would just annihilate them. I think at least did 45,000 damage if it landed or something like that. It did a huge amount of damage, and it would take out mobs real quick. But now it only works on 6 targets maximum, and its endurance cost got significantly boosted. So it still does the same amount of damage, just you can't use it on as many targets. Why did it get nerfed? Again, it's the same thing as AoE dots and dirging. It impacted server stability, and it caused zone disruption. It's another way to mass kill mobs that just kind of got out of hand. But as we end this video, I'll just give a special thanks to people who helped me compile this information. I want to give a special thanks to Nikki, to Cyrene Fippy, Zipe, Scuzz, and Kraken Reality for helping me compile. And I didn't know about a lot of these patches. I didn't know a lot about these nerfs that happened to the class. So thank you so much for the information. See you in the next one.